Hey Saggies, welcome to Vivid Vibration. My name is Christina. I'm going to be doing your general read for whatever is happening at the moment, ATM. Let's see what's going on with my Saggies. Oh my god, okay, there's like a lot of cards, so I'm just going to stop for a second. Oof, okay. I shuffled these. Okay, so you have the Pilgrim, the Animal, the Offering, the Poet, the Unseen, the Prayer, the Apocalypse, and the Stone. Okay, Saggies. Shit. Sorry, it's cold. I want to start with the Apocalypse because I feel like your last couple of reads have been just kind of like this idea of coming into like this I mean, the Apocalypse, like there's one part of the Apocalypse that's really like coming through to me right now, and it's the idea of like the lifting of the veil, because you have the Unseen here too, and I feel like that's just been a really big theme for a lot of people. You know, it's just this like, I don't know, I mean, in the Leo video I talk about like, you know, the idea of an eclipse happening, you know, and it's just kind of like in the shadows things are revealed. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of this feel of the Apocalypse and the Unseen, is this idea that that the veil's being lifted on things that weren't seen. You know, like you didn't see that person's side of the story until you saw that person's side of the story. You know, like you thought, you know, in a lighthearted manner, I want to say, you know, like, oh, that person will always be there, and it doesn't matter that I push them aside or that I take other people into consideration because, you know, like in the end, they'll be there. You know what I mean? And it wasn't that you were being like hateful about it, but also, I mean, there was a big play, and you just kind of pushing them down. You know what I mean? Like keeping them, making sure that they were gonna stay there. So I mean, I almost feel like a Gemini vibe with it, but you know, it's just that idea of like there's two sides to the coin, and one side of it was like oh, no big deal, and the other side of it was like, but I'm gonna keep you in place because I don't want to lose you. You know, like this duality that this person experienced with you. And I think that in the end you thought that they would let you just drop the one side of you and embrace the other side of you, but they were like, no, because why would I, like, you all you've shown me is that like you will put me down to keep me in place and disregard me. You know what I mean? Like they were like see my reality. And I think you were really forced to see their reality. So I feel like the Apocalypse and the Unseen are kind of like that, like what's come through, or what you've been transitioning through, I guess I should say. Because, I mean, you have I want to go to the Pilgrim next, because I think, you know, the Pilgrim is the idea of like the journeyman. You know, again, I feel like this is the theme for my fire signs, you know, just this like no longer seeing things through one perspective. You know, I mean, I feel like for my Aries and my Sag, you guys have been more on that, like you're only seeing it from your side, you know, whereas where I think for Leo, they were lost in everybody else's sides. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like this, but like the idea has just been like this journey through expanding your vision, you know, expanding your vision into yourself, expanding your vision into others. You know, like I feel like that's the journey, you know, of the eclipse that's been occurring for everybody. But in that, Saggies, I think that you're figuring out what it is that you had initially like set your anchor into. You know, it was almost that like, but why was it that I was always trying to hold on to this person? Because I think in a way, you know, like all of your like putting them down, do you know what I mean? Like keeping them in their place, you kind of convinced yourself that they weren't worthy of you simultaneously, while you were teaching them to realize that you never thought they were worth it. You know what I mean? It was kind of like almost like you poisoned your own perspective. And I think that when they really call you out on it, you're there's like a cleansing of your perspective. You know, like um, so that you're like, I think so that you're seeing why it was that you anchored in them in the first place. You know, okay, I said that. So yeah, so I mean, the idea of prayer is manifestation, you know, and I don't know if there hasn't been an element of like, God, what was it? Fucking a year ago, probably. I don't know. Like, there was a read about you vibing with this person, and you were like in all of this. You had this whole life going on, you know, you were like deeply embedded with this person. And so you were, you know, like you kept pushing them to the side, you know, and being like, well, not right now, not right now. And I feel like this is almost like a culmination of that story. I mean, it makes sense because, you know, like eclipse seasons, it's like the culmination of a lot of things. But it's like, there's this idea that like they were imprinted on you and they caught your eye and they caused a lot of motion in your life. And it was because you, like, when you saw them, it was like this recognition, I want to say, like this anchor. And you were trying to take care of all of these things, but like the things started to take over you, and things got nasty. And I mean, you have the poet here. I mean, and the poet is you know, they're mystic in their nature, and they speak the truth. That's what it is. They speak the truth, and they speak to like raw emotion and raw humanity. You know, it's not about a facade for the poet. The poet believes in the reality of humanity. You know, which is funny to me that like that when you tell people you study literature, you know, they think that it's somehow like this frivolous, meaningless, you know, degree, and you're like sometimes I feel like but poets have a deeper understanding of humanity than a psychologist does. The psychologist sees the facts and figures. The poet sees the soul, you know, and I feel like this person is kind of like a poet. I feel like they're like they bring poetry to your life. They create soul. They pull on it, you know, like there's something about like the rawness of their truth. And I mean, you have the offering here. I don't see it being associated with any of these cards, though. I mean, like outside of maybe the fact that you are bringing to them, you know, offering to them what they've offered you. Because, I mean, there has been this idea of manipulation, you know, and this idea that like every time you push this person down, they came back anyways. And in the end, when you decided that you were going to play with them again, they, you know, like they pulled full stop and they were like, no, I'm not playing with you anymore. Like, game over. You lose, you know, like there was like you never recognized any of the value you brought to the table. You know, it's like you never offered me what I offered you. And so I kind of feel like maybe that's the offering, is like offering them what they've offered you. A rawness of emotion, a realness, a truth, you know, like something poetic, something worth writing. Saggies. You guys are in that heart space right now. Page of Cups, Judgment, Wheel of Fortune, Ace of Swords, Ace of Pentacles. So, I mean, I feel like the Judgment is with the Page of Cups. I mean, again, it's that idea of offering. Like, what were you offering? You weren't offering them anything but, you know, like, but a rejection that was a rejection that was carried out so many times that you even lost sight of their value. Like, you devalued them in such a way that you couldn't even see what was right in front of your face, you know? And I want to say, like, that's where the Judgment is, you know? I mean, and then with the Wheel of Fortune, I think would again, it would play into that idea of like you seeing it for what it is, you know, that going back to that, like that veil being lifted and the unseen being seen, you know, and like, and the truth and the reality of the situation and the circumstances and why everything carried out the way that it carried out and how you got lost along the way and how they got lost along the way. Do you know what I mean? Like, just like a recognition of a journey. And why everything happened, you know. I mean, it's just like this unveiling of a truth, you know, that enables you to move into new beginnings. Okay, sorry. So many cards. Death, the Ace of Wands, the Star, the Seven of Swords, the Six of Wands, and the Ten of Wands. You have a lot of major arcanas. The Judgment, the Wheel of Fortune, the Star, Death. And I mean, you know, death kind of plays into the idea of the apocalypse. I mean, you know, just like same story, second verse, I guess. You know, like something coming to an end, you know, like something had to come to an end. You know, this lack had to come to an end. Like this like the poison that got dripped in along the way until it became like lethal. You know, like it had to be filtered out. Because if it wasn't, you know, it's like that's the end. You know, death is upon us. And I mean, in terms of the prayer and the poet, I want to say that that's where you're at right now, Saggy. You know, and that I almost want to say like pulling on that truth. The Ten of Cups is coming through, like with the woman that's like concocting at the cauldron. But you know, it's that idea of like pulling on, like that truth was like that missing ingredient that you needed to like pull on your magic to really, I want to say, like see clearly, like the through a journey. You know, like I think of you know, like the the journeyman's tale, you know, and all the trials and tribulations, and they're, you know, like it's darkest before the dawn kind of vibe, you know. Um, but there's this idea of like I almost want to say like you're waiting to see your magic, like, I mean, those are stars that he's looking at, but right now it's coming through as like the dandelion, like the fortune fairy from the Hidden Realm deck. But it's like you're watching the seeds of your prayers and manifestations, to see where they take root. I mean, you know, the star is a card of like of healing, of curiosity, of like coming into your story, coming into yourself. You know, like this time it's really coming into that idea of like of being the star of your own show, you know. Instead of playing a role or a character in everybody else's, you know, it's kind of this idea of like I'm gonna come into my own role. You know, like it's something that I've been holding on to. I like that, like the idea of like holding on to it and then letting it go. Which plays into the idea of manifestation, yeah? You know, so that you can have your new beginning. I mean, I feel like this is a really big new beginning. You've got the Ace of Wands, the Ace of Swords, and the Ace of Pentacles. You know, so it just feels like it just feels new and different. You know, there's no love here. Like even with the offering, I don't like. There's no speak of love here, and I feel like that's with a good reason. Because I think really the idea here is being anchored in something, having something imprint itself on you. You know, like a you know, the beauty of poetry isn't simply aesthetic. You know, the beauty of poetry is depth. And that's what I feel like you're wanting to root yourself in, and what I feel like has imprinted itself on you, and what it is that you want to offer in return. Tower. I mean, yeah, I feel like each time, the apocalypse, death, the tower. Same story. I feel like maybe this read's just not meant to be very long. We should just go ahead and wrap it up. The Tower, the Six of Wands, the Seven of Wands, and the Ten of Swords. Yeah, but I mean, I feel like in like being swept up in the end of it all, you know, like I feel like this has been an emotional experience for you, Sag. Like I feel like there's a calmness here. You know, like I don't feel anxious. I don't feel giddy. I don't feel anything. I feel just really like even keel. And I feel like it's because this like revelation, this lifting of the veil, this seeing the unseen is just like giving you this like, I want to say like this like, again, this like meaty truth that's enabling you to kind of see outside of the dark woods of the journey into like a whole new vision. One that you feel anchored in. One that feels manifested to you. Specifically to you. Yeah. Okay, I guess I should do one more archetype. Sorry, I forgot about that. creator. I mean, it does. It goes into the idea of newness, you know, like, I mean, because the creator speaks to the idea of there being a void, you know, like the big black hole, but from the black hole is where, you know, like galaxies are created. And so it's that idea of like creating something from nothing, you know, because from nothing, we're going to talk nothing. And that's what I have here for my Saggies. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope this resonates with y'all, and